Today's show is back to the back of the bus with Michelle Moore. Michelle Moore was born 3 years after this. I think I hear her now. Today's show is dedicated to Barbara O'Neill. She was one of the pioneers in Olympia. My friend Keith Eubanks had really wanted to take part in a show of this nature. However, he died before we got to it. So today is the day for the visit with a person of high strangeness. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing great.
You finally got here?
I got here.
Took you, what, 12 years to do a show with me?
Well, I'm here.
You're here, yeah.
I'm here.
To begin with, I want to establish something.
Okay.
What's your relationship to me?
I'm your daughter.
Oh, yes, you are. Okay.
Favorite daughter?
Favorite daughter.
Wait, only daughter?
Only daughter, yeah. Would you say we politically agree?
For the most part.
We do?
With some things, but you're very different and
So that's a no, right?
very out of this world, yeah.
That's a no, okay.
That's a no, right.
In our personal life, do we agree?
Nah, not always.
That's a no too, right?
That's a no. Yeah,
That's a no.
That's a no.
Okay, well, haven't established that. We kind of need to get that out of the way so we can go to the rest of the show, because today we're going to talk about some stuff we do agree on.
Okay.
Would you agree to that?
I'm here.
Yeah, like the president said, let's agree to...
Disagree.
That's what we're going to do today. Well, okie dokie, so we're going to get all ready. Oh, I forgot to say, it's the visit.
With a person of high strangeness.
That's
and her
it.
daughter.
And her daughter, yeah. Okay. It's on?
It's on.
Oh,
Where
good.
you at?
Our camera person, your daughter. Your daughter, Ebony, is at work, so. So we have to wait out. We have to wing it. Here's my head. It's hot outside. Look, I put a knot on my head. You like it?
I got my shades.
Oh, cool. Now, let's get serious for a minute, okay? You were born 3 years after the voting rights. And you were born in Madigan.
Right.
Madigan Military Hospital. And then eventually, well, you was about 2, 3 years old when we came to Olympia. So you were in Olympia most of your life, per se.
For the most part.
Can you tell me a little bit what it was like to grow up your early years as a multiracial child? If I remember right, it was you and your brother, a Japanese woman, so that he would have been an Amerasian, and the O'Neill children. That's all it was, right?
Right. I think that there were, back then, I mean, the Holmeses came later, but growing up in Olympia was different. Never really never really was able to fit in, and I never used my first name. I always used my middle name and got in trouble for that. But always being recognized as the odd one out was different. It was one of those things where you're always the brown one. You're always the different one. You never fit in. I always felt like I didn't belong. And then as we got older and we moved away, I was able to tell the difference on the way people of color were supposed to be treated. When we moved to Louisiana, although I was black, I was the one that was the little girl with the Puerto Rican hair.
Puerto Rican hair.
Everyone liked me.
That,
it was different. It wasn't like I was the person that everyone was afraid to talk to. Got along well with pretty much everyone there, and living here has been and still is a challenge. As you know, because your mom, I have
Yeah.
lots and lots of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first,
you how many? 8 now?
I have 8.
8.
When we came back from Louisiana after our house fire, which you can talk about.
Yes.
We were terrorized by the Ku Klux
The
Klan.
Ku Klux Klan, and eventually we got the great Karl Marxey, the attorney from Spokane, to represent us. He was the human rights attorney for the White House through I don't know how many presidents. And he had, in essence, what happened, he had went to Canada and heard a talk at a Klan rally. And that's how he found out about the whole thing. And he came forward and he helped us, yeah.
Yeah, well, the story behind that is that we lived in this house and the Ku Klux Klan prior owner, I believe, owned the house. Mm-hmm. And the person had passed away and wanted the house.
Peabodys.
The Peabodys. And they used to meet in front of our house. They did things like dump garbage in our yard and they de-bled our Doberman. And ultimately they threw a bomb through the window and we were forced to leave. So we came back up here. And that was really nice. It wasn't long before children followed. And
oh yeah,
and
Carl. What's the runner's name? Carl. Oh, his aunt Lois. Carl Lois. His aunt took us in. Remember? Oh, you wasn't there. Excuse me.
I was in Colorado.
You was in Colorado. Anyway,
Colorado.
Esther Lois is the one that took us in.
Right, but when we came back here, and it didn't take long, I started having kids. When they were old enough for school, they went to Madison Elementary, and they came home and they said, "Mom, we're the only brown kids there." And this was back in 89. I think it was 89 when I started having children going to school, and they recognized immediately that they were the only brown ones. And
but by that, let me go backwards a little bit. At the time that we moved to Olympia, when you was very little, Olympia was still on a blacklist from the military because of the racial tensions we had here. And so eventually, you know, through race relations and the Urban League and Blacks in Government that I belonged to, along with Barbara and Neil and some of the people, we got that all taken care of. So as a result of that, a lot more minorities came to town. And Dixie Lee Ray was governor, and she insisted, so between her and President Carter, it was determined that we needed to mix up things a little bit. There was some kind of bill that had to do with the military, where the guys didn't get promoted at the rate that they were supposed to. So she worked that in. So what they did is they brought in the head of the departments from different places, and they were Afro-Americans. So Vernon Stoner and some of the people that you knew growing up.
right.
And they brought them in, so that of course mixed up the child population a little bit. I remember trying, the Nisquallies offered to have you come to their school because you look more like that than anything else.
Yeah, I don't remember that too much, but I know that one of my kids looked like a little Nisqually Indian.
Yeah.
I go down and
Yeah.
So.
And so as time went on, things, I would say things got a little better. Oh yeah, then Jackson came in, Thelma Jackson, and her daughter was the first black homecoming queen for Timberline High School. Yeah. I
remember that, yeah. I do remember that. In fact, she was in school the same time I was. I think she's older. A year or two.
Then the next thing, Puerto Ricans came working in the cheese factory, and then things, like I said, things got mixed up. Alice Hunter she was Afro-American. Then they brought in the refugees from Cambodia and Laos. So some of the light-skinned blacks became Cambodians because they couldn't tell the difference. So we went through that phase.
Well, I know now it seems like it's very diverse if you go to certain areas, but then you're still faced with the stereotypical behavioral stuff that are expected of you. You can walk into a store, and as soon as you walk in, you know, everyone zooms in on you.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want? What can I help you with? You're not allowed to look at something without being questioned, not in a sense that you're being questioned for what you're looking for, but really, what are you doing in my store?
What are you doing in my store?
Exactly. Yeah. I've had occasions where I've gone with people and gone to pay them money for something, and I had someone standing next to me, and rather than them looking at me in the eyes, they're handing my money to someone else because they're not really looking at me. All they see is a brown hand. And so it's little things like that. We have there's some instances that the kids have come across. I didn't come across too much growing up, just the teasing and I don't know.
Well, when you came up some kind of way, since I was a member of all these things, I was well known, and I think fear kept them from you more than anything.
Yeah, I didn't get the stigma that everyone else did. However, my children have come across a few things, quite a few things actually. One of my sons had. Do you remember when
Cyrus when he was 5?
Yeah.
He was 5 years old.
Yeah, actually, he was walking to school, and they had taught him in preschool, some I love you signals and things like that, and a police officer pulled him over and wanted to find out what gang he was representing.
Yeah.
When I found out, I was absolutely really appalled. I filed a complaint. It was addressed, and they found, some of my questions were not the fact that they were questioning him, but had he been a little white boy walking down the street, he would not have been questioned. He would not have been questioned. And in our meeting and in our conference with the higher-ups at the police department, which was simply a meeting for right and wrong, I went in, and ultimately they said yes, that probably they had not done that before, that they would not have talked to him had they thought that, that he was less likely to be representative of a gang.
He was 5 years old.
He was 5 years old. He's walking to school. Yeah. And ultimately what they found was that, yes, it in fact happened. Yes, they questioned him, and they shouldn't have questioned him the way that they did, but they felt that he was justified in doing that.
Racial profiling.
It was a racial profiling issue. It really was. Because after speaking with the officer admitted that, had he been white, he would not have been asked that question. Another instance was for another child who remains unnamed.
Yeah, unnamed.
Unnamed.
Sorry.
Yeah. The reason why I don't really want to mention their names is because this will come back to them, and I'm on TV, and we're in our town, and the whole racial profiling, the whole racial problems will come back and get them in some way. I have another child who was saying the word pimping in school. There are shows on MTV such as Pimp My Ride and things like that. And
definition for pimping?
Pimping? That depends. Pimping could be a positive thing. It could be that you're pimping something out, you're making it better, you're making it look appealing. But again, of course, there's the stereotypical 70s pimping where you're putting someone out on the street.
Yeah, two different things, yeah.
This person was going to Reeves Middle School and was actually suspended. He was suspended for saying the word pimping in class because it was an inappropriate word at that time. Upon meeting with the principal, at that time. Actually, I think it may have been the vice principal. What he said was...
Yeah, okay, now who determines these things?
The teacher complained. And now, what is it? A few years later, this teacher is using that word, and it's okay. At the time, he was taken out of school for 3 days for it. But the principal proceeded to tell me that he had black friends, and that he understood how we felt about it, and why I was so upset, and that, he understood... that things were different, but pimping was just not a word. And I explained to him that it wasn't that my son was putting someone on the street, or it was an okay word.
And
something's
how old
bad
was he?
good.
Do you know?
Gosh, at that time he must have been 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
11 or 12 years old at that time. And it was purely harmless. It wasn't anything that was out of sorts. But he was suspended for saying the word pimping. There was no other stance behind it, and the explanation for what I felt was racially motivated was that, well, that cannot be the case. That's definitely not the case, because I have black friends, and I go to a black church occasionally, and I know that, I like you people, is kind of what he said. In essence, that's pretty much what he said. I like you people, like we're a color or something. Then it goes back to the joke of, well, what kind of Kool-Aid do you like? Well, red. I just want red Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Let me interject here. Now, was this do you think was this before or after one of your daughters actually got to start a hip hop club in school? Remember?
Actually, that was before. That was before. But that brings to mind the same thing. Olympia High School. They had a play, and I don't know the exact wording of the play, but it was another one of my supersized complaints, because they have a few things that make people of color very uncomfortable. One of the things is that, they do it in all schools, but they read the, Tom Sawyer and some other different books that are approved, and they're perfectly fine. But when you have one child that's black in the class, and, nigger this and nigger that and this, that, and everyone's like, oh, you're the one, and they're looking at it.
Yeah, we can say
that, and it's okay. But they had a play, and I don't remember what the play was about, but I know that it had something to do with a turkey. And one of the lines in the play was that the white on the turkey was good, and the dark meat was ignorant. And for me, that was racially motivated. It had no place in the play. So of course, I called the school and I talked to them about it, because the kids feel uncomfortable, and they talk to me about it. Latest instance, I had a child on a bus.
Yeah, let's get to. The name of the show is back to the back of the bus. We'll get to the bus in a minute here. Now, what I want to determine here, maybe they felt guilty to let her do the hip hop club because they were so ugly, huh?
I don't know, and it's quite possible, because what you find is they step on different territories, and then they realize, oops, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And the kids, they've adjusted. They've got some props being the kids of color in school. There's quite a few now. But they go through the school, and it's like, whoa, stay away from them, because they have the stereotypical, they're bad, and they're bad in a way that they're gonna whip me down, and that's not the way it is. Everybody's kind of the same in a sense, and they should be treated the same. So
our family, by the way, is the United Nations. When you come to a party, we are from everywhere. So.
Yeah, come from one end to the other, and we
Europe, Asia,
open-handedly, everyone.
We come from everywhere.
Yeah, and and everyone there's a universal sense of respect, and a cultural sense of respect. It's all the same, and I think if everybody could just kind of get along and agree that you can.
Can we all get along?
Yeah, exactly. Can we all get along? Yeah. You can say.
And we do for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of foods, there's all kinds of musics, there's all kinds of different things, and everything's okay. It's okay. I don't have to like your music if I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't like yours either.
I don't have to like your books if I don't want to. And it's true. It's okay. I don't like it. You like yours. Okay, I like mine too. So it's okay. Everybody. We have
one of the things now for my part of the family, we've always been real diverse. One of the things that I like about the way we do things as a family is that we let everybody express themselves in the manner that they want to. In other words, if there's a person from another culture, we don't feel like we can't look this way or we can't do that way.
We can't do that
it's a relaxed atmosphere. We say here, this is who we are, this is where you're at, now let's do it. And so each person, regardless of who it is, we can always feel free to relate in the manner we're used to, the way we think, and sometimes we don't agree, but it's a mutual, this is who we are of mixed cultures, and it works. What do you say?
Well, I think that's right, because when you look at the different cultures that we have within the family and outside of the family coming into the family, everybody's different.
United Nations.
And we can step together and enjoy each other, whether it's, it's a matter of trying new things and just getting along.
Yeah.
And like you said, agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Is hey, that's the way of the world. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I think that I think that's the way it should be.
So getting back to the child, he got suspended because he said pimping. Is that what we
Because
were?
he said the word pimping.
Pimping, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of pimping, stereotype. I found a really. I don't know if I can do this from here. Look at this picture I found. Here, it's for my eyes have seen the glory, bearing witness to the struggle of the Civil Rights Act. Now, when a person is dressed like that, that's usually they associate that with a pimp, even though
Right.
it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and now, now you see rappers with their bling on and all of that, and, they're stereotypical, they automatically assume, but, and he's very nice dressed.
Yes, he is.
He's very nice dressed, he's clean cut, but back when this was taken, which was probably in the 70s,
he
would have been deemed as a pimp.
Yeah.
Not just the hat, but his jewelry.
Look at the ring, yeah.
His jewelry. And now, that's okay, so, we've come a little bit of a ways, because now they would just say, well, he's stuck in time a little bit, but he looks good.
He looks good.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
he does, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we have come a long ways. They have come a long ways, and with us it's different because, you're of color, but you are really a light color.
And so it's very confusing sometimes.
A little bit of vanilla there. and it is really confusing, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everyone walks in and they're like, yeah, that's my mama.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm glad now when I go to the school where my kids were the only brown ones, there is probably every type of culture you can find in the school, which is really nice. And I don't feel like they're treated very differently there. I mean, occasionally there's, one or two people who are still stuck in generational stuff, and it's going to be a long time before we can get past the whole racism thing, because it's passed generation to generation.
As we're filming this, this is the time period where you have all these hate mongers. They just killed somebody just killed the doctor at the abortion clinic. The gentleman walked in and killed the guard at the Holocaust place. There was an incident in Philadelphia. So all this is going on. And if you remember the predictions that I made in a newsletter that I wrote maybe 4 or 5 months ago, what happened is some kind of way, some of the people went into fear. They couldn't deal with the change. And they got fearful, and they reversed the whole process. It's like all this way that we've came, it's like freeze.
Yeah, too much.
And they went right back. And as soon as we're going to talk about downtown and the election. So it seems like that after the celebration, it was like we was in a time warp. Things went backwards within days.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that has to do with, when you say that everything's moving too fast, the fact that we have a black president now, a lot of people are very excited, and I am definitely one of them, dancing in the streets like everyone else. Yeah. But then there are those that are scared because they're thinking, they look at where we've been and, where we're going, but now it feels like it's a reality, and wait a minute, we're moving a little too fast. Let's slow down. Let's take things back a notch. And they're not too sure about what's happening next.
I had some experience with some friends on the road. I usually travel with metaphysical oriented people, so race and things doesn't enter into the whole thing. But then the minute I step out of my house, I'm in the real world, and I have to put on my feelers so they don't follow me in the store and say, what are you doing in my store? That type of thing. Then after 9/11, I even looked a little Arabic, and Walmart nailed me. About who are you, where you go, huh?
Well, speaking of Arabic, if I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to tell you, I don't know, I'm not going to say any names, but do you remember the instance where, David, I'm going to say, but remember the instance where he was in his car, he was in his RX-7, and he was driving by Fred Meyer, and someone thought he was Arabic and threw a tomato at him. He called the
really?
police.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, someone hit him in the head with a tomato.
Oh,
And it was really big for him because he
that.
called the police, and the police were like, "Well, what are you complaining about, man? It's just a tomato."
But they missed the point.
The point was that they did it because they thought he was Arabic. He was driving his RX-7 and he got hit in the back of the head with a tomato.
I didn't know that.
And he did. He called the police, and the police did. They kind of was like, "Well, what do you want me to do? It's a tomato, dude." But the point was that it was racially motivated.
It was.
And that was over in Lacey by Fred Meyer.
He was going to go to Europe here a couple of years ago, and I actually didn't think it was a good time for him to get on an airplane because of the way he looked.
Well, I know he's really got some prominent features, so it, yeah, another one of those world integrations. We've got all different types.
We got everybody.
Yeah, we've got the Indians, we've got the Arabs,
we got everything except that.
Everything, yeah, everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And hey, that's exciting.
I didn't know. I thought you knew that. Yeah, he told that story, and he was very, very shaken and upset about it. And he still talks about it. He's really serious about it. But I mean, I can visualize it. But
yeah, we're not laughing. David, oh, excuse me, Dennis, if you're watching this, we're not laughing at you. We think the whole situation stinks.
Right.
That's what we think.
Right, and and the hard part is that at that time I believe it was the Lacey Police Department. The Lacey Police Department, one of the officers came out and they was like, it's a tomato. Quit your whining and move forward. And that's that's one of the stigmas of just being anyone on the outside.
When Claudia, Claudia. When Claudia and her children was here, they spoke very little English, and the children wanted to go for a walk. And we're going to fast forward here in a minute. Anyway, they wanted to go for a walk. Their English was very limited. All the regular kids was in school, but they came from Europe, so they wasn't in school. And I told these children, if you are approached by the police, just throw your hands up. And what we had done, I had put a note in their pocket, explaining who they were and everything. And I said, so just throw your hands up, and then you tell the officer to look in. I said, this is in English, look in my pocket. Because if we reach for your pocket, you're going to have a problem. One of the children, we were sound asleep, and the police came. And they wanted to know who called them. And we said, who called 911? Well, nobody. But what had happened, one of the children wanted to call home, and the prefix had a 911 in it, so the police came.
It's 411.
411.
Right, so they dialed 911.
And then the town prefix was 911. So of course, So they kind of knew they were in town, but we thought it was dangerous for them to walk around in the daytime because they wasn't in school. But it might be hard to understand, but we have to think like that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you have to be aware of the way you approach people, the things that you say, the way that you carry yourself. It's not because of who you are or where you've been or what's happening. It's just, like I said, everyone's kind of caught up in this whole generational gap. We have a lot of people that are very supportive of all races. We're not just talking. We're talking
about people of color. Period.
We're talking about people of color. Period. Anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's more about what is expected, and what past.
Hey, I found a picture.
Past stuff is expected.
Found a picture that illustrates it really good. A lot of people of color.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there are a lot.
Lots of them. Okay, now forward, please. We're going to the back of the bus.
Oh, to the back of the bus. Okay. Well, we're back to the back of the bus for sure. There was a time when.
In Louisiana, we still had. That was late 70s. I had trouble getting married. They thought it was interracial. I had to show my birth certificate before I was allowed to get married.
Oh, okay.
In 77.
Well, when I was in Louisiana, I went to school at HICO. One time I think I went. They were having an assembly and the school was segregated. You know, they say it's not segregated, but they kind of looked at me and says, well, you know, where are we going to put her?
Put you?
I never went back. I never went back there. That
Yeah.
was one of those things, because back then you'd think.
But at
that
the
we would pass
doctor's
that.
office, they still had college entrances. And then we came back in '81, and but nothing's changed. But this is Olympia. This is the South. This is Olympia.
Yeah, that's the
Back
South
to the
over
bus. Okay, we already did that. So so now.
Well, like we're back to the back of the bus.
Yeah.
My son, who goes to Reeves Middle School, had an instance. You know, he's not always the greatest kid. Gets into some trouble periodically, and I don't want to say he has behavioral issues, but you know, he's trying sometimes. He was on the bus, and the bus driver was trying to find out who the Negro was in the back of the bus. I found out about this, and I was really upset about it. Called the school district, talked to them, wanted to know what type of a bus driver they have that would say such a thing. And you know, it would be no different if we were in a different, you know, if we were in a different town and there was someone in the back of the bus, and someone said, who's the little white boy in the back of the bus? Who's the little Asian at the back of the bus? That's not the point. It could have been, who's the little boy in the red shirt at the back of the bus? The whole wording of the Negro in the back of the bus was very offensive to me.
Red shirt. Who's the gang member?
Oh yeah. Who's the
Can't
gang
wear
member?
red either.
Yeah, you can't wear red, can't wear blue.
Yeah.
So I was very offended by it. I called I called the school district, transportation. I called the principal. I called everywhere, and ultimately, what happened was nothing. Not really. Bus driver was required to sign, not write, an apology letter. He didn't deliver it. I believe it's the head of the Department of Transportation for the Olympia School District came out and offered the apology letter and said it wasn't going to happen again. The bus driver is a union member, so there was nothing that could be done. It would be on his record for future reference. Not very long later, a couple months later, my son was in an assigned seat. This is a substitute bus driver. My son was in an assigned seat. He asked him to step off the bus for a little bit while this other girl that was in the bus did what she had to do, and he could get back on later. Under his breath, he decided he was going to make comments about the little Negro boy again. I had a little girl come to my house that I don't even know. I don't even know her. She was very visibly shaken, very upset, and said that he did it again, and that he had called him a little Negro.
The man probably thought Negro was an improvement. You ever think of that?
Because he's at the front of the bus?
No, because it's a different N-word.
Well, you know, maybe, but he'd already been addressed by it. This is the same bus driver. The exact same bus driver who referred to him as
We're trying to be fair. We are trying to be fair.
Yeah, who referred to him as the Negro. And, you know, that word is, you know, hey, if you're speaking Spanish, okay. That it's a description. It's a color. It's not about your color. It's about who you are as an individual. I don't believe that, you know, I don't think that the school district handled that at all in a proper manner. You know, first of all, the man is still on the bus route. He's still driving the same kids. He still has the same opinions, and I don't knock him for having his opinions. I think my problem comes when you realize that we're in a different era now. And, you know, things are different. Perhaps his parents were one that raised him to be a certain way towards the little Negro children. I don't know. I don't know where his mindset is, but I think after the first conversation with him and the way things were, that the way that he carries himself and the way he addresses children, he's got to realize that that's just not okay. And it's upsetting. I mean, the kids don't want to be singled out. They already feel like they're singled out. Anytime anything has to do with anyone of color, there's so few of them that it's automatically, well, you must be talking about me. It may not be the case, but it's the feelings that, you know, have been implanted on everybody, I think. So.
I was just thinking about something, because sometimes I have these conversations with people, and I'm from a different country, and so I'm descriptive. I try to be descriptive in what I'm saying. So, like, let's say, and you know, I do this all the time. When I talk about a person, you say, and I'll say, well, a neighbor, and you say, well, which neighbor? And I'll say, well, the Chinese gentleman or the because I don't know their name.
Right, right.
And it's, at this point, it's a real issue to other people. But to me personally, it isn't. Because I like to be descriptive. Now, if I was to say the second house down, you would have to, like a Rolodex, kind of go down, or you know, or you mean so and so. Do you think that some kind of way they think the same way I do, or?
Well, you know, that might be true, because, for instance, one of the girls I know, I was referring to and talking about foods and her culture, and I referred to it as Oriental. It was very offensive.
Oh, yeah.
I was asked to call it Asian. I wasn't aware. You know, and you know, one of the things culturally about, you know, different cultures have different things. You'll find that, you know, Asians a lot of times are, you know, they're, in my opinion, I think that they are a little more overbearing and clustery, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact, like, if you're in a line, they'll move right to the front, and I think that's because their culture is such that they have to do that to be able to be recognized, you know, and so
this is from our perspective.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I know that, you know, referring to, because I don't know if they changed it when I got older, but I always remember saying Oriental, but it's actually Asian. So, you know, and now some people want to be African American or they're black.
Now, look at me. Come census time, when I came to the United States, I was Negro. Then the next census, I was, what was I? Arab, which wasn't true either. Then after that, I became an other. And so it changes, because as you do the category, like right this moment, I am not sub-Saharan, I am not European, I'm just an other. So they constantly change stuff like that.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I filled out Head Start papers yesterday, and for the race, it had all these, you know, black.
They categorize
They categorize you, and then on top of that, they have ethnicity. Was another category that you're supposed to write it in. So, you know, I'm female, I'm male, would be sufficient. I mean, who really cares, right?
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Who really cares?
So
it gets to the point where it's, you know, do you want ranch or blue cheese?
I was
press number 1, press number 2. Okay, if you're number 2, then you must be number 5. Press 7.
Yeah.
So I was kind of lost just filling out the papers. That one thing is the race, and then the ethnicity.
I let you know what I am after the census. Now, we were at an event here not too long ago, and one of our Native American friends, she's a Lakota, things were not going according to the program, so I turned to her and we were sitting there, and I said, well, yeah, I said, isn't it a good thing we're on Indian time? Now, that to Native American, that means we're going with the flow. But, oh my God, somebody said, I don't believe you said that. And it became this big thing.
You were on the phone?
No, I was talking to our Lakota friend.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, oh, isn't it good that we're on Indian time? And it became this big.
So Indian time would mean that it just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You get there when you get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we was trying to, what we was trying to do is things was really tense, and we was trying to even it out a little bit.
Right.
But it backfired. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that happens with everything, because everyone does have different viewpoints.
Yeah.
And different perspectives. So. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh. Oh, wow. I'm looking at this book here. Let's see, we got another story we want to talk about. So, I think what we're going to do, I'm looking at my time here, because we could talk about this all day. So,
the paper, maybe?
The paper.
Yeah.
And then while you do this, I'm going to get up. Is that the paper you need?
That's the paper over there, yeah.
Okay, now, I'll give her the paper. I'm going to get up. I'll give her the paper, she'll talk, and then I zero in on the paper while she tells the story. There you go. You don't want to go back in front of the fishes, do you?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm
so,
okay, right here.
So, okay, you start the conversation here.
Yeah, so actually what we're going to talk about is, I went to Gold Beach, Oregon, which I frequent a lot of times, and, you know, it's a place that we love to go because there's the rivers there, and the ocean's there. But every time we go, we're always faced with we're always faced with the racism that goes along with that visit. The last time we went in, we actually had gone into a house that someone we know takes care of. And as we were there, we were immediately faced with a, what do you want? Why are you here? She's not here right now. You got to come back. Basically, you know.
But how many years have you been going there?
Oh, I've been going there all my life.
All your life.
All my
Okay,
life.
that's
All my
important.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
I've
your
been
life.
going
So they
all
know
my
who
life.
you are.
And I
yeah.
continue to go. I'm going again next week. So
Yeah.
it's not something that's going to stop me. It just goes to show you that it doesn't matter where you're at in the world.
It's the same thing.
It's
yeah.
always the same thing. You're going to get positive, negative from everyone. And we returned, and my son is a very big advocate for, you know, diversity and trying to get people together on the same sheet of music, people getting along and things like that. And he came back and he talked to...
If you hold it up, I'll take
one
a
of
picture of it, and then do you want to read it or you want to tell
Well,
it?
you can take a picture and then I'll just read it. What happened was we had this incident, and someone that works with him decided to write an editorial to the editor of their newspaper. It was less than 2 weeks later. It was posted front page.
Put it up a little bit.
Front page of their
You talk, and then I'll...
their local Curry County Reporter.
And that comes from Gold Beach?
This is Gold Beach, and Gold Beach is very, very small. I mean,
Oh, God, here it is.
I don't even have internet access there in most of the places. Let me know when you've got it.
Yeah, I got it, and now we go.
Because I don't want to show you.
Click. Okay, got
Did
it.
you get it?
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she wrote this letter in hopes that, you know, they would recognize that racism still exists in their town, and it really does. It really does. But it's a beautiful place to go. It's not a place I would ever stop going to. The letter to the editor reads, do you want me to just read it?
Yeah, and
Okay.
read it, and then we can...
Then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, this was written by Eileen Yoshina. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. It might be Yashina. It says, recently a young man I know visited Gold Beach with his family. And while there, his family had offered to feed a relative's cat in a mobile home park on South Bank Road. While visiting the relative's home, his family was repeatedly harassed with racial insults, including the N-word, all within the hearing of the three little brothers, aged 12, 11, and 3. It says, I'm sure that the residents of Gold Beach can imagine the fear, heartbreak, and pain this incident caused this family. This young man is a fine student who's active in leadership activities in his high school, as well as the community college, and he attends as a Running Start student. He devotes much of his free time to schoolwork, caring for his younger siblings, and taking part in extracurricular activities that educate people about the effects of racism in our community members. I'm writing in the hopes that the residents of Gold Beach will take the hurt he and his family experienced to heart and work to make their town a place that welcomes people of all backgrounds. I don't know if his family will ever feel like returning to Gold Beach. I hope that all of us can learn a lesson from this experience, stand up for people who are subject to racial harassment and intimidation of any kind. You know, signed from Eileen, Olympia, Washington.
Now, did this woman actually live in Olympia?
She actually lives in Olympia.
And how did she find out about it?
Because of my son's involvement with diversity
that's what
and things like that. And so it's something, you know, that we'd like to see change. And she was absolutely appalled when she heard the incident that took place. And it's just one of many.
Keep talking.
It's just one of many incidents.
I'm gonna leave again.
But it's a place definitely going to go back to next week. We're planning on a great trip and hoping that, you know, the new year's starting and things are changing. We've got Obama in office, and he's doing some great things. Maybe people will recognize that, you know, we're all a group, and if we work together, I don't care whether you're white, brown, black, purple, yellow, Democratic, Republican. Doesn't matter if everyone's working together. You know, the world could be a better place. What do you got there?
I'm going to show you something, and I would like to, I will put it on camera.
Okay.
In its totality. I'm going to hand this to you, and I would like for you to tell me what you see.
I see a picture of Obama that indicates that he's probably confused about his race and color. Looks like his hands are white, his head is white, so he's thinking like a white man, but he's actually a black man. Is that what that indicates?
It indicates something different to everybody.
It looks like, not that his hands are tied, but it looks like his ears are tied because he's not listening to anybody. He's got America almost on his shoulder, on his sleeves. He's just deep in thought, but it looks like from what I can see, they're depicting him as a black man who's got he thinks like a white man. He does things like a white man with his hands, and he's got his ears tied with string because he's not listening to anybody. And I've never seen this before.
Okay, I'm going to sit back then.
Okay.
I'll try to cover here in a minute. What happens is, did you read my newsletter?
Which one?
The last one.
I'm not sure.
She's not sure. It's my daughter. She never reads anything. I'm famous everywhere except with my family. Can you believe it?
I do. I actually do. There's a couple that I've looked at that have been really good.
Uh-huh.
It's just weird.
I'm going to show this to you in a little while. When this arrived in the mail, I was offended because I thought it was a bad imitation of a do-rag.
Oh, no.
That's what I saw.
Okay.
Okay. I have shown this to 20 people in the meantime because the person giving this to me said, how do you get all of this from this? One lady thought that somebody was target practicing.
Oh, because of, okay.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said, oh, well, his thing is backwards. His, what do you call it?
His pin.
His patriotic pin is backwards.
That's true.
Okay. Now, the person that sent it to me and said, how do you get a do-rag out of a mask? And I'm thinking, this is not a mask.
Okay.
He said, it's a white man with Obama's face. Well, if it was a mask, it wouldn't have the freckles.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looks like it's his actual face.
Yeah.
But it's true. It could be.
I thought it was a bad do-rag.
Okay, yeah, because now I see it's a mask that's tied on to.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be, but it really represents a lot.
But it's still not a mask.
Who wrote the movie?
It is a video about the Bilderbergers, and I thought it was Bilderbergers. That's a group of bankers that goes into the conspiracy category. Okay. But I found it offensive.
Mm-hmm.
I love my friend, but I still do.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are he's never going to understand why it's offensive to me. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's mocking Obama, to me, and Obama as a black man. And I think that, they still, they say Obama's a black man, but then again you have those that say, well, he's really not a black man, like he's confused. And the picture there is actually showing...
Let me see if I can show it to you here.
Yeah, for me it looks like they're mocking him and making jest of his actions, I guess. I'm not really sure. I've never seen that film.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I watched it 3 times, whether I liked it or not, because I wanted to be fair. I think it
is offensive.
Do you think it's on there all the way?
Yeah, I think so.
It's as close as we're gonna get, okay?
Yeah. I think it is offensive, actually.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your friend?
Who?
That sent you that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We very open-minded, and we look at different things. And he didn't send it to me.
Well, there's always a line with friends, though.
But see, that's not what he saw at all.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
That's perception.
That's the perception. So you know what the next newsletter is, right?
Perception of deception.
Perception. Yeah.
Okay.
Perception.
How about deceptive perception? How's that?
Yeah, but here's the thing. We live in a time right now where people are in fear, They fear the Republicans, and they fear this, and then they fear this. And here comes this man that's trying to unite everybody. And that worries people because they don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, as far as, Egypt was the last speech, all of
Wonderful
that
speech.
That was touching all aspects of the life and religion and everything, and it all came in, and it was fair, and it was equal, and I don't think people can understand that.
So that would be the same thing if they were all thrown in our family. They wouldn't know what to do, would they?
Yeah, and the people that come into the family, you just have to tell them, hey, this is the way we are.
This is the way we are.
This is the way we do it. That might be the way you do it, and that's okay. We're okay with that, but remember that this is the way we do it, and hey, come on, let's do it. So
you don't have to eat our greens, and we don't want your tamales.
Yeah. Well, no, I like the tamales. Come down some of my greens.
Yeah, so something like that.
Yeah.
the way you teach your children how to deal with that, has that any way changed recently, or?
I don't think so. I think it's real hard for me with all aspects of raising kids in the way that they approach things. And it becomes very difficult when it has to do with race, because behaviorally I've always told them that if you have a confrontation, tell someone.
Mm-hmm.
If you have another confrontation, you tell someone. Third time,
Tell me.
Tell me. And if nothing happens and you're in a position, excuse me, but kick their ass.
That's good,
you know, and that's kind of what I tell them. But I also tell them that it takes two people to fight.
Yeah.
It takes two people to have an argument, and you know, a lot of times it's the bigger man that can walk away.
Yeah.
If you can walk away from an incident, you know, and sometimes they come home, hey, you know, I was going to get in this fight, but this is what I did differently. And you can only praise them for that, because there's always going to be someone there to fuel the fire. Always going to be there, someone to fuel the fire. And, you know.
Being my age, and I see everything going backwards again.
Oh, go ahead. Say what you're going to say, and then I'm going to say something.
I don't want you to forget it. Going backwards again. And I don't like that we are going backwards again, where we have to watch our back all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to take a deep breath and go forward again. Do you see us going forward after this?
You know, I think that...
you was going to say something.
I was going to say something. What I was going to say is, one of the things at Reeves Middle School, one of the teachers had pulled me to the side and had a meeting with my son. And some people may have been offended. This was a man, a black man, who was he's in a position where he was mixed, and he told my son that as a black man he had to work extremely hard,
right,
because it's not just about being successful, it's about proving others wrong. That your entire life you're proving someone something. You know, you walk into the school and they're expecting you stereotypically to be the troublemaker. They're expecting you to be the person that's going to bring the school down or burn the school down or whatever it is. They expect that from you. And the way that he worded it to me while I was sitting with my son was, he said, you know, being a black boy coming into the school, you may be having some behavioral issues, but those behavioral issues are going to be magnified 50 times or more, because when you walk through the door, you're automatically labeled. This man explained that he had to work really hard. Him and his brother together were put in the same position. His brother chose not to be successful and chose to take things differently. And, you know, you make that choice.
And sometimes what I found is what people think it's racism is really entitlement issues. Certain people feel entitled to be a certain way. Yeah. So
I, personally, I think it's just a matter of respect, one way or the other. I think that if everyone respects each other, respects their space, respects their belief systems, that's okay. We can all agree to disagree and still be on the same wavelength, and do your thing. We can work together and be even stronger, or work apart and be weak.
Yes, so. And then one of the things I did put in the newsletter I wrote about race at that time was that each culture has their own vocabulary even, and we don't. I don't want to be the same. I want to be
unique.
I want to be it's the uniqueness that makes us. It's our differences that make us unique, and everybody should be able to maintain that uniqueness. And then just we follow certain rules that is set out by society.
And like I said, there are certain cultural rules that you just follow regardless, and you can be an individual and do all those things, and have your own ideas and.
No. So you expecting it to get better again, are you?
I am hoping that it gets better. I hope maybe everyone that sees this, that things people might understand the viewpoints that anyone of color has, and the things that they have to endure. And I think that if they were on the other foot, and people that were not of color went to a territory where they were in all colored area, and they were to see the way that that the difference of, I guess, communication, that maybe they'd understand.
And our time is up. But here's the thing: I almost think I need to say something in defense of the homeless people. They have a really hard time too, aren't they?
Which homeless people?
All the homeless people. You know, they stereotype and everybody,
Oh yeah, no,
everybody's
yeah,
freaking
you know,
out about
that's
the
a whole
homeless
other
people.
show.
Another show.
That's a whole other show. That's you know, yeah, the homeless situation is a whole other show for sure.
A whole other show.
Definitely.
For right now, we're gonna go. Then her and I'm gonna see if it's my daughter, so I can probably bribe her to talk a little more about something else. Thank you for coming. We see you next week with some kind of something. I'm looking forward. That's okay. I'll see you next week, and bye.
Bye. Let's get to the front of the bus, all right?
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah,
I'll
to the front.
buy a car.
Or, yeah,
buy
you know,
a car. That's even better.
Actually, you know, it's not even getting to the front of the bus. It's having a choice.
A choice.
Having a choice and just being there.
Ja, en. Stjärna Masters, det kör ta med det så att jag...
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Miss Lillian, we'd like to thank you for all the fun. And you took us here, take us there. And it's just because you really care where our journey goes, or it begins. It's part of our planning will extend. And if we do our part, we'll fulfill our mission. We've had from the Miss Lillian, like to thank you for all the fun. Take us here, and you take us there. And it is just because you really care.